This episode of the Beauty by ABIC podcast is brought to you by the Aesthetic and Beauty Industry Council. Hello and welcome to the Beauty by ABIC podcast, your online support community for the aesthetic and beauty industry. Here, we are strengthening and unifying the industry through representation, innovation, and education. This is a platform created and dedicated to the aesthetic and beauty industry, valuing unity and advancement. We serve to represent, support, and inspire you by connecting you with industry experts, expanding your knowledge through educational pieces, and bringing you the latest industry news. This is Beauty by ABIC. I'm your host, Stephanie Miller, and today's guest is Ray Friedrich from Global Beauty Group. Ray is a senior commercial leader with extensive experience in the pharmaceutical, medical device, and life science industry, having held roles such as sales director, brand manager, and national sales training manager across industry-leading companies. Ray has a science background and completed his MBA at RMIT Business School. He is passionate about products and services that support the life science sector and make a difference to people's lives. This is what attracted him to the beauty industry and Global Beauty Group. Here to share his expertise in device regulations, best practices and considerations when purchasing a new device, including insuring your device and training your staff. From Global Beauty Group, today we welcome Ray Friedrich. Welcome to the podcast, Ray. How are you?
I'm very well, Stephanie. It's lovely catching up again.
It is so nice to have you on this podcast. Today, we're talking about an extremely interesting and very timely topic, and that is all to do with purchasing new devices, the requirements and regulations around that, and giving our listeners some advice if they want to expand and grow into the medical device kind of arena. But before we do, Ray, you are a wealth of knowledge, an extremely experienced and renowned person in your industry. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing in the aesthetic world.
Well, thanks, Stephanie, and thank you for that accolade. I've got a long history. I've got a science background, so I graduated a degree in chemistry, but couldn't see myself working as a chemist. And I had a friend at the time who was working in the pharmaceutical industry, so I joined the pharmaceutical industry, and I really was in that industry for about 20 years. And what really sort of grabbed me about the pharmaceutical industry is because it's doing something that makes a difference to people's lives. And that was the thing that really enticed me to have a very, very long career over 20 years in the pharma space. And I love technology, and I love working in a field that helps improve the lives of people, or has an effect on people. And there was an opportunity to move across to the Global Beauty Group, and after I researched both the business and the industry, I just thought, wow, what a tremendous industry to join. And here I am, and I'm sort of 1 year in the role. And what I bring into the role is a lot of that experience that I've developed over the 20 years in pharmaceuticals and medical devices, and a lot of that applies to the beauty industry. So it's been a fantastic transition, and I'm really looking for a long career in the beauty industry.
What was the main draw that brought you over to aesthetics? Because the pharmaceutical world can be very captivating, and when you go down the rabbit hole of all the different areas in that particular industry, it's easy to have a lifetime career there and never really transition over to anything else.
Yeah. And really, I think for me, it's more around the technological advancements that's really happened the last 1 to 2 decades. And what really attracted me to this industry is that there's a lot of investment in future technological advances. And so that excites me, because with that, you can work with beauty businesses and to really introduce things that make more of a difference to people and the way they live and the way they look and all of that. So that's probably the biggest thing that really attracted me coming across to the beauty aesthetics industry.
I think that's probably the same with a lot of new entrants into the industry, therapists and dermal clinicians. The ability to be able to now make such profound changes in people's skin and people's lives, not just by, traditionally we needed to use, methods like touch and skincare, and they're still very important elements of it. But as we know, they're a part of a more global, and I say that, no pun intended, approach to the actual treatment plan and what you can do for a client. It's only a part of it. And of course, medical devices are a huge way into improving that skin and that quality of your life for the person. And if you're a salon or a clinic, and I myself own a couple of clinics, I know the power that devices and, things that can actually make a true difference in your skin, how powerful that it can be for your business, but also for your clients. So we are talking all about machinery and devices today. And the people that are listening today either have a clinic or they're thinking about purchasing a device. And it's always a complicated thing when you think which device. There's so many devices, Ray, out in the industry. It can be extremely overwhelming. Global Beauty Group have 25 devices themselves, right? So it can be an overwhelming premise or concept to try to start disseminating all of that information. But can you please tell us from your point of view and your experience, what are some of the key considerations prior to purchasing any machinery or devices that we should be thinking about?
Yeah, no, great question, Stephanie. And yes, when purchasing any new aesthetic device, there are several key considerations that need to be taken into consideration. And really what you want to be doing is making a wise decision that meets your business. So firstly, consider the treatments that the device is capable of delivering and whether or not they align to your business goals and the clients you are targeting for the treatment. So really consider your existing technologies that you have and then question yourself around how will this new device complement your business. So some devices are designed to address specific concerns, whilst others are more versatile and offer a range of treatment options. So the space you have is another key consideration. So ensure the device is safe and effective for use. So has it been cleared by regulatory bodies such as the TGA, or does it have CE approval? So also check the clinical data and any studies that have been conducted on the device to determine its effectiveness. Another idea is to request before and afters or testimonials, from other customers who are using the same device or reputable suppliers of the device. They'll be able to provide you with all this sort of information as well. So reaching out to them is a good first step as well. So consider sort of the upfront costs of the device as well as any ongoing maintenance or service fees. So determine whether the device will provide a good return on investment based on the number of treatments it's likely to deliver and the fees you can charge. Really, really important. So ensure that the supplier provides comprehensive training and support for the device, including maintenance, so troubleshooting, ongoing clinical support is another important factor. So this will help you use the device really safely and effectively and address any issues that may arise. So it's not about just the initial purchase of the device. It's sort of ongoing. How are you going to sort of maintain the level of service and the level of knowledge to ensure that the device is actually going to give you the optimum results, not only for your business, but also for your clients. So
that's so important, Ray. I think that element is extremely underestimated. When someone is considering purchasing a device, you might want to go for the quick, cheaper kind of option. It's like purchasing a car and not having a single person that is willing to look after it or service it. You'll drive it'll be okay for the first, how many kilometers, and then you're stuck with big time problems. That can be devastating to a business, really devastating.
Absolutely. And look, and I think things like just looking at the supplier's reputation and track record in the industry is really, really important. So check online reviews, ratings, testimonials from other users, gain insight into their experience if you know people with the device, and the supplier's level of customer service. Do they have a track record of providing really good customer service? Are they recognised within the industry? For example, are they members of ABIC? or
Of course.
yeah, but I think that says a lot, to
Oh,
start
absolutely.
from a reputation perspective, and have they received awards, so look for that, Australian beauty industry or other recognised awards. It's a good way to determine whether or not the supplier is reputable, and they're going to provide that ongoing support that you require to make sure that you can really optimise the device, not only for business but for clients as well.
I was thinking, Ray, how difficult it is when you're running a clinic. It's more difficult when you have a room of fully booked clients on a device for, weeks in advance, and your machine or your device goes down. It has problems, technical difficulties might happen to that device. It's worse for your business and for your client to have a long period of downtime when you have already pre-booked clients. It's worse than never having the machine in the first place, because obviously your business was adapted to not having a device. You have now something that your clients and your business is relying on, and you're shut down for periods of time, long periods of time, without knowing whether or not this machine's going to be back up effectively. It can be quite devastating to business. I've been through that myself. Of course, your organization has a whole maintenance arm, doesn't it?
And Stephanie, that is an exceptional point that you make. So it's not about just the devices that you provide, it's around the whole offering. And that was probably one of the main reasons that the Global Beauty Group was so attractive to me to join this organisation. So some of the questions I'd be asking the supplier is, what are your turnaround times for clinical support? If I were to ring your customer service line, how quickly are you going to get back to me? So ask for evidence, and also from a technical support perspective, you're absolutely spot on, Stephanie. Do you provide sort of loan machines if my machine needs repair?
Because that's a good one.
Oh yeah, if you think of it, if you're
not many do though, Ray. Like it is difficult.
Yeah, I completely agree. And if you've invested a significant amount of money in a device that generates a significant amount of revenue for your business, and that's out of action for, say, 2, 3, who knows, a month, then that has a significant impact on your business and your client retention as well. That's the other thing. So making sure that you work with suppliers that are quickly on to helping you overcome any issues, but also have backup plans like providing loan devices is absolutely critical.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah, that would have gotten me out of a couple of tricky situations, that's for sure. And so, like, obviously purchasing a device, all those considerations, thank you so much for talking about those. There's those, and we could talk about that for a long time. But there's also another arm and another consideration when you're purchasing a device, and that is regulation. In Australia, we have very, very varied regulation from state to state. Of course, there's not a national sort of standard across the whole of Australia. So you are bound by what your state is doing, and some states are more heavily regulated than others. Some are very much lacking in regulation, and some of it, I would say, are probably over-regulated. What do you think we need to understand before purchasing, I suppose, new machinery or a device that would fall under those regulations?
Yeah, I think it's an exceptional question, and you're right. There is variation among states, and I guess when it comes to us as a business, there's two things. It's around laser devices, and then in Tasmania, it's also IPL devices. So they're the two where it affects our business, and then we need to give some advice to our customers. So each state that has regulations in place certainly has the necessary information. It can be a little bit overwhelming. There's some of the information, but really check with any reputable supplier. They'll be able to really provide you guidance on the regulations and help ease the process for you. It's not that difficult once you get into it. Yeah, and look, there is variation amongst the states. So, but what I'll be doing is that in your particular state, sort of ask the question, when you are considering a new device, and then and they can certainly hold your hand in getting the respective information. So, in some ways you'd think that, regulation may be restrictive, but also it can be a competitive advantage, because if you're willing to go through the process of getting it registered, you may be one of the few businesses in the area that are providing that sort of service. So it's another way to think about it. So look, the steps and hurdles are easily overcome, and you can get that sort of really good advice from any reputable supplier who'll be able to sort of hold your hand in the process.
Sure, absolutely. As you said, a reputable supplier would have all of those details on hand and help that person through the journey. Also, if you're an AVIC member, you can call our facilitators. We can help you through that as well. If you want some extra advice, or if you want to brainstorm or have any further questions. But it is something to consider, because I do think a lot of people just aren't aware that there are certain legislations and regulations that govern that area of the beauty and aesthetic industry. So it's really important to do your homework yourself, I would say, and not just rely on one source of information. The suppliers would be wonderful. AVIC is another source, also your own research. I would say always go and double check everything just to make sure you're within. It's even the local, just devices such as skin needling, even your local council, like there's requirements that you need to have in your treatment rooms for those types of device and skin penetration and so forth, let alone, heat-based modalities and so forth.
Yeah.
There's so many varied, in the industry, we've got brand new devices, we've got secondhand devices, there's just so much out there. There's a whole world too of secondhand devices, isn't there, Ray? Like there's a flourishing secondhand industry that is a little bit concerning sometimes and a little bit scary. Can you tell us a little bit about that kind of part of the business and what considerations you really need to have if you're looking at purchasing something that's been pre-owned?
Yeah, no, that's exceptional question, Stephanie. And so when considering a second-hand aesthetic device, it's important to ask, the right questions to ensure you make an informed decision. And look, and these are some of the examples. I'm sure there's more, but these are the things that I'd be asking. So firstly, the condition of the device, has it been refurbished or repaired? Are there any known issues or problems with the device? So often it may be difficult if it's to get that out of the.
Yeah. Are they going to be forthcoming with that? Oh yes, yes it is, Ray. My machine's rubbish, so please purchase it.
But having said that, if the seller is reputable and knowledgeable about the device. So firstly, so for example, if you're purchasing a second-hand device from a supplier of the device, it is a more reliable and safer option, because they'll be very, very open around the device, and they'll provide you with photos and inspection reports and all that sort of stuff as well. So that's something that you should consider also when
from a supplier. It is a different ball game, isn't it? Sometimes people purchase from each other.
Correct.
One clinic to another clinic. That could be a little bit more daunting, I think, for some people.
Yes. Yeah. No, absolutely. So in that case then, so I'd be asking questions like, does the device come with all the necessary accessories and parts? Because if you get it from your supplier, it will, right? So what's the condition of these parts and accessories? What is the cost to replace them? So, and also important to know is if all the parts and accessories are still available. So if you're not purchasing it from a supplier, you may not know that. So ring the supplier. If you are purchasing it from someone who's just selling you a device like a non-supplier, then ring the supplier and sort of ask those questions. That's really, really, really important. And look, and are there any safety concerns with the device? As it's certified by the relevant regulatory bodies, ARTG listed, all those sort of things are important. And then the next bit is that and I think this is really important, is how you and your staff are properly educated on the system, so to enable safe and effective outcomes. So are there any associated costs with training and ongoing clinical support? So if you're purchasing it not from a supplier, then there may be important considerations there around that ongoing cost. And then this is one that probably not a lot of people think about, but I think is equally as important. And it's around if the device is encumbered. And what I mean by that is there still money owing by the current owner? So you've got to be really, really careful, because liability of any money owing stays with the device.
Right.
So when you are purchasing a second-hand device, make sure you get evidence that the device has been fully owned by the seller. And the other
Wow.
thing, yeah, I know and it's probably one that people don't think about. So but also if you're looking to finance the device, check with your lenders, because a lot of lenders look at the age of the device and are less likely to finance aged devices.
Of course, of course. Yeah, and with you when you're talking about warranties and service histories and things like that, how would you ask for things like that? What's your service history? Do you have a record of all the servicing? Is it still under warranty? Those types of questions.
Absolutely. So absolutely, and again, if you're purchasing that from a supplier, yeah, that it'll come with
Mm,
warranty. Even second-hand devices all do, and that ongoing service and things like that. So yeah, you're right, because often if you're purchasing a second-hand device, it may be out of warranty. It may not come with the service that's free of charge. So therefore, there's going to be ongoing costs associated with that. So again, if you are considering and going down that path, ring the supplier of that device and ask those questions.
And they really should, because what can happen sometimes is the supplier is the only one that can service the machine. The
Correct.
supplier won't service the machine because it's probably might have been opened up and serviced by somebody else that maybe wasn't, a registered or approved repairer.
Mhm.
And then the supplier themselves will need to do work on the machine to bring it up to standard. And it's a whole big kettle of, worms or whatever you've opened up.
And then your
Because
costs blow right out.
absolutely, because the machine's not to standard, they'll have to bring it up to standard, then put you on a service contract, and then also then provide you with the proper training. Because of course, if you're purchasing person to person, where do you source that training? You'll need to purchase that training from someone, or from the original supplier, which is the best place to go for that training, obviously, from
Yes,
that device. So
exactly.
you can be potentially opening yourself up to, or you think you're going to get a good deal, maybe you get a 20 or 30% less price than what you would going straight to the supplier, but in actual fact, you end up paying double.
Absolutely spot on, Stephanie. You've got to think of that, suppliers, if they're providing ongoing support, training, technical support, all of that sort of stuff, that's a significant cost for that supplier, right? So, and if you
Absolutely.
can get that free of charge, that is absolutely, and that's where I think a lot of people who purchase secondhand devices don't think of that. And then they think, oh, okay, well, if something goes wrong with it, I'll get it fixed then. But then you could be up for an incredible amount of cost to to repair that device.
The Aesthetic and Beauty Industry Council is Australia's peak industry body, representing the collective professional beauty and aesthetic, salon, clinic and spa community. Created for the industry, by the industry, our council is a collaboration of industry leaders who bring their commitment and specialised skills to raise industry standards, guide regulation and be a strong voice to government. At ABIC, our purpose is to provide an accessible and supportive organisation for the betterment of the professional beauty and aesthetic field, to enhance working practices and promote unity across the various sectors of the industry. ABIC's mission also includes being a trusted source of referral, education and guidance for clients of the beauty and aesthetic profession. ABIC is here to support our members through an extensive offering, including hundreds of valuable resources, HR support and industry expert facilitators to ensure your continued growth and success. Join us today and together let's safeguard the future of the beauty and aesthetic industry. Find us at www.theabic.org.au. At ABIC, we are here for you.
And when you are purchasing a device, it's so great that you've just mentioned all the ancillary goings on of a device. So you're thinking about, you're not just purchasing the device, you're purchasing a service for a period of time. If it's a secondhand or a brand new device, if you're purchasing it from a supplier, it will come with some kind of warranty. So then they're beholden to obviously look after the machine. So you're not just paying for the device, you're paying for that period of ongoing care. Probably a reduced fee for then looking after it long term. So you're encompassing that, the training, the support, all of that. So you're really factoring in all of those things into the cost of your device. And a lot of the times it's actually, it's definitely more worthwhile going through a reputable supplier than it is sort of winging it out there and trying to do it on your own.
And look, and things like, as we spoke before, suppliers that have this ongoing service and support, and we certainly have the service of providing ongoing clinical and technical support for the life of the device. So for anyone who purchases it from us. So really, because if people haven't got that sort of that backup, then if something happens or there is a question, they've got really no one to ring. But, working with a reputable supplier, you could ring them straight away. You can ask the question, whether it's a clinical question, whether it's a quick technical question, and they can fix it very, very quickly for you. So again, just even that will help you, enable you to be more efficient and effective and get the most out of your device for the best outcomes for your clients, firstly, from a safety and efficiency perspective, but also from a profitability perspective as well.
I love that you mentioned the best for your clients, because obviously servicing's a tricky one. If you don't get your device looked after properly and you don't get your device looked after by a registered, qualified, approved repairer, you're risking that device is not going to work as per, prescribed, which means obviously in our field, if it's a heat-based device, goodness me, what could happen? What's the worst that could happen? You could end up damaging a person's skin, causing a burn. A whole host of things could go wrong. The treatment could be maybe is not as effective because the device relies on the correct output. The device relies on everything working correctly. We really need to think about the safety of our patients and put them first, and being really responsible with our servicing and making sure that that's spot on is a way that you can do it. And I know, I care for my machine so well because, what can happen if you neglect that side. And likewise, there's things like your insurance company, they're getting more and more interested in what devices are you purchasing? How old are they? What's your servicing? Is it getting serviced by a reputable organization that's approved? Tell us a little bit about public liability insurance, insuring the devices, all those things that we need to really consider when we're about to buy our first or add on another machine.
Yeah, really. And I think that's a really important point, Stephanie, because if you are using devices that are expensive or essential to your business, and often they are, we invest, businesses invest heavily in technology, and they're an important cornerstone of business outcomes. And so I would certainly recommend insurance to protect against any loss, damage, or liability. And I'm certainly no expert here, but in terms of tips and tricks that I would suggest, before purchasing your device, it's important to assess, the level of risk involved in your business activities. So this will help you determine the type of coverage you need and how much it will cost. Important, as we always do with everything, it's important to shop around and compare different insurance providers, find the best deal possible for you. Look for providers that offer competitive rates, but a comprehensive coverage. That's really, really important. And alternatively, and this would probably be my recommendation, seek out a reputable broker who can help you get the right levels of cover. So make sure if you work with a broker that they really understand you and your business. And then once reviewing insurance policies, be sure you read the fine print really carefully. That's important. So this will help you understand that sort of the coverage that you're actually getting and any exclusions or limitations that may apply. I would say if you're insuring multiple devices or have other types of insurance needs, consider bundling it and putting the policies together. So this can often result in sort of cost savings and make it easier to manage your coverage as well. So, and to ensure that claims are sort of processed smoothly, it's really important also you keep good records of your business activities, including any incidents that happen, things like that. It's important. So, but overall, as you said, Stephanie, it's important to carefully consider your insurance needs and take the absolute steps to protect yourself and your business from potential risks. And by taking that time to research the options and choose the right insurance cover, you can have peace of mind knowing that you're well protected.
Absolutely. There's things that we don't consider, which is under insurance. You've got insurance, for example. You think, okay, I'm going to get the minimum. I have 3 devices. I'm going to insure them for, a nominal amount. What can happen if you are underinsured is that insurance, if you lose one machine out of the 3, if you've underinsured the whole lot, you won't get the full pre-purchase price for that one machine. even if you're, insured for say, $300,000, but the total cost of the machinery is $600,000, they will apportion, you're underinsured, so they'll apportion the right amount of that insurance claim to that machine. And it could be not enough to purchase a new machine. Yeah. Very important that you are insured for the correct amount.
That assessment around, you're right, around all the technologies, because if you think of it, if you're sort of purchasing sort of new devices again, that it can be very, well, it's very costly. So, and if those devices are the cornerstone of your business, then having that protection is absolutely critical.
Absolutely. And things like missing out on, say, you've got an overall nominal amount, because you were talking about bundling and things like that. It's a good option. Bundling is great. But always take into consideration every device you have. If you have a device that's sitting there that you don't use, so you don't include that in your insurance, that is actually, though, included in the overall assessment. So when your insurance person comes out, assessor, to look at what's damaged, they will count the machine that you don't use in the total cost of the equipment that you have, and then apportion it correctly. So, there's so many things to consider. If you have machinery that's sitting there that it's not used, that also needs to be insured, not just the devices that are being used, or you need to remove it out of your premises and put it into storage. So there's so many things that to consider with insurance to get it right. Otherwise you might get caught out. Even things like new for old, are they going to replace the machine with the newest model that's come out, or are they going to replace it with a second-hand equivalent? Things like that. It's such a tricky world, isn't it? Insurance.
Absolutely. So, but it's a necessary. I shouldn't say evil, but
protection, right?
Yes, necessary protection.
We get in APIC, we get so many phone calls about insurance when you're actually about to purchase a device. So I've been in that position early on in my career, was thinking, oh, I'm going to purchase even now a brand new device that I've never had before. There are a lot of preparations that you need to do in your clinic for this new device. Can you tell us a little bit about some of those considerations?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So critical that preparing your clinic for new aesthetic devices, it does require careful planning and attention to detail. And some of the important steps may include, and I'm sure there's others, so learn as much as you can about the device, including its capabilities, its limitations, and the maintenance requirements. So this will help you understand how it fits into your practice and how you can utilize it effectively. Make sure your staff are properly trained on how to use the device. This is absolutely critical. So this can include attending training sessions provided by the supplier. And my tip would be, have your receptionist, your front of house, trained on the new device, as they can have the quality conversations with clients and lead to a consultation. So that's I think an important tip. So develop treatment protocols, sort of that outline how the device will be used, what settings will be used for specific treatments, any precautions or contraindications that should be considered, and good suppliers that establish protocols in place. So which are a great starting point, and they can work with you to integrate those protocols within your clinic. Another consideration is to ensure that the treatment area is clean, ready for use, obviously. So this may involve rearranging furniture or equipment to accommodate the new device, as well as making sure that the treatment area is properly ventilated. That's another important aspect as well. And even before you have the new device up and running, update your marketing materials. I think this is really, really important. Get onto it as soon as possible.
Absolutely.
Highlight the capabilities. Yeah, it's absolutely key. And often you do that. There's obviously often a time lag by the time you're purchasing a new device. There may be sort of a few weeks or a month before you're actually getting the device. So start actually with your marketing campaign straight away. So when your device is available, you're actually starting to perform treatment straight away. So take the time out to consider how you'll market it, and what you'll charge for each treatment is really, really important. And good suppliers can support you here with marketing materials and price guides, including marketing assets for inclusion on things like social media or websites. Think about your point of sale material as well, and marketing campaigns. So how are you going to get your new offering to the marketplace? So that's an important sort of question for you. So how are you going to attract new clients and also entice existing clients to take up this new offering? So all of this will help you get the best commercial and client outcomes with the new device, and start scheduling appointments for the new device once you feel confident your staff are adequately trained, and keep track of how the device is performing over time as well. So this can help you identify any issues or limitations with the device, and can help you fine-tune your treatment protocols to achieve optimal results.
I love the piece on marketing and education, because you might fall into the trap of thinking, oh, I'm going to buy a new device. Everyone's just going to sign up and have a treatment.
Yeah.
Your device costs money. You probably have a loan to repay. You have staff that you put on that in that room to try to, utilize them. There are all these costs associated with it. So you really need to think about, how am I going to effectively communicate the fact that I've got this treatment? How am I going to entice clients to try this treatment? And a lot of the time we forget about the marketing until after we've purchased the device.
Spot on. Yes, so for example, at the Global Beauty Group, as soon as someone purchases a device, so even before delivery, we enroll them on our education hub. And the education hub, so you can start the whole education process before the device is actually. So you do your theoretical training on the device beforehand. Plus, you can get access to all the marketing materials and things like that we've got for the device on our education hub, and then you can start really building the assets to help market your product. So I think people need to get onto that. Business owners need to get onto that as soon as possible. It's an important consideration.
Absolutely. I love that you mentioned existing clients, because yes, we can do all the, external marketing campaigns, and we can do social media and all these wonderful things, but the most valuable client base that you have, new clients, are really your old clients. You can turn, existing clients into new clients, and that's the goal in every business, is the database. And usually they don't use that effectively.
Yes,
I think businesses we could all do a better job at using our database more effectively. I know that I can. And that's something to really consider when you buy a new device. It's also a really good excuse to talk to your client, because they want to listen. They're like, oh, everybody wants to know what's new, right?
That's why it's really important that your staff are really, really confident, and that they have the adequate training. They know the device well. They know the treatment options that it can deliver, because then they can confidently talk to customers, and you're going to get there. Because that is, as you said, that's an important form of your marketing. Is your internal advocacy that you have in the new technology that you're actually bringing into your business.
I love that you mentioned staff. Your staff are your key. They're your conduit. They're your person that talks to your clients. And it is so important that they feel confident. The number one reason why a treatment sells or doesn't sell, or does well or doesn't do well, is because your staff have either faith, confidence in the device, machine, or treatment. They love it or they don't love it.
Yeah.
Isn't that true?
That's so true. Absolutely.
So tell us about what we need to do to prepare staff members to actually be able to promote, sell, use, and love the device.
Yeah, I've sort of touched on it before, but absolutely key. This is one of the most critical things, and a few key steps to ensure that they are knowledgeable and confident in operating the device include, first and foremost, high quality outcome-based education. Number one, right? So ensure your staff receive that comprehensive training on the device operation. Safety protocols is really important. Best practices for client treatment. So that's really, really important. And this may involve sort of in-person or online training sessions with the supplier, and with really the end goal of having each team member really confident, as I mentioned before, they can perform the treatment or confidently sort of promote the treatment within the clinic. So allow your staff to gain practical experience with the device, and that is going to help them develop more of an understanding of what the device is capable of doing. And then,
let them play with it. Let them treat each other. Let them experience the treatment. Goodness me, like, you think you're putting aside 1 to 2 hours for them to play. Oh, is it worthwhile? Absolutely, it's worthwhile.
It's funny you say that. So, and one of the things that we do at the Global Beauty Group is our account managers, they actually go through the comprehensive training themselves. And we get them to a point where they're competent and they get signed off to perform treatments. So, and that, because then, they're confident about speaking about it as well. Plus, they can also explain really well around how the device performs and speak from personal experience. So I think, as you say, that's a really, really important point. You've nailed it there, Steph. I would certainly encourage as many staff members to do treatments on themselves. Obviously under the auspices of adequate training and safety. But that's a good way to get your staff ready.
Absolutely. And it creates a buzz in the clinic and the salon. The girls have just had a treatment. Maybe if, even just before seeing clients at the beginning of the day, like if there's a treatment where their skin is a little bit flushed, or where they've had a walk around, and clients ask them about, oh, what have you had? And we've got this amazing device and we've just had a treatment and it's so fabulous. It creates this amazing kind of buzz in the clinic. And what's better than, motivation and happiness and excitement to promote and sell a new treatment that you have.
Yep.
So always excite your staff with actually using and having the full course, not just one. Get them to have the full course of that treatment, because the results will show on their skin. They'll be so confident to talk about it and sell it. They'll be more than confident. They'll be excited and brimming with just information for the client. Nothing like you can get just from pure training. Training is really important. Experiencing the treatment is just as important as well. I love talking to you. Such a wealth of knowledge. Tell us a little bit more. Just like, I want to deep dive into your brain. Like, give us some tips, advice, safety standards. What have you got for us as we wrap up the podcast?
I guess for me, there is so much resources at your disposal, and particularly if you're working with reputable suppliers, they know their devices inside out. They know how they operate. They know how to get the best outcomes. They know how to best promote them. Obviously, the reputable suppliers are great business owners in their own right. So they know how to, so learn from them. So a lot of the things that we produce and all reputable suppliers produce are, these quality materials. And it's not just training, but it's the marketing support. It's all these things. We've got before and after shots, ready to go. And my advice would be tap into that as much as possible. Ring your company afterwards and sort of ring your account manager and ask the question, hey, I've got this new device, it's going well, but I really want to really promote it better. Do you have any tips and tricks? Can you point me in the right direction? And they will. They'll provide you with little tips and tricks or other additional pieces of information that you can utilise to get the absolute best results. And then again, on that, clinical support, technical support. If it comes with the device, use it. Use it as many times as possible, because it helps you learn as well. So particularly on the clinical side, if you've got a question, ring up the dermal educators, the clinical team, get some advice, and then that helps sort of accelerate your knowledge as well. So that's really, really important. So looking for those suppliers that provide that ongoing training and clinical support is, I think, one of the most important things. Asking questions on how reputable the companies are in providing that. So, for example, I would sort of say, okay, if I'm going to make a call to your clinical department, what's your average response time? So I'd be asking that question. So I think that's an absolutely valid question. So technical support. So how quickly are you guys going to get back to me? Do you have loan machines available, as we discussed before?
Yes.
So those things are really, really important. A good way to sort of check on, which companies are the most reputable, again, look for the ones that are members of reputable societies. For example, ABIC, I'll mention you guys again. So are they ABIC members, and have they received any industry awards? So what aspects of their business have been awarded? That'll be the other thing I'll be looking for. Do they have supplier awards? Do they have education awards? Do they have customer service awards? These are the sorts of recognition that I'd be looking for to determine whether or not I'm dealing with a reputable supplier.
That's wonderful. I love the piece of advice of lean on your supplier, because I don't think that's something that clinics do often enough and well enough. I think that we're, hardy business owners and think, oh, we can go it on our own. And so we tend to maybe not call and say, so what's new? What can you offer me? How can you support me? How can I market my machine better? How can I market my device better? How can I get my staff to be able to communicate more effectively about it? And I think you'll find, you're right, the good suppliers are great business people in their own right, and will have that marketing material, that sales material, that training material, and the ability to actually help you as a partner, not just a person that sold you a device. So that's really what I would say, to end on an amazing note, is look for a long-term partner, look for someone that you can grow with, look for someone that's going to not see you as a one-time purchase, but as a person that they can grow your business with their business, and you can grow concurrently with. I think that's relationships mean more even these days post-COVID than they did beforehand. We are humans face to face, and we are looking for that trust and that relationship. And with that relationship comes the confidence to be able to ask the questions that you have, Ray, so eloquently told us all about throughout this podcast. And you mentioned ABIC members, and thank you so much for mentioning that, because we do pride ourselves in having an extremely comprehensive selection process to be able to bring on supplier and, of course, foundation members such as yourself. And the people that we partner with are dedicated to giving back to the industry. It's not just about, oh, we're part of ABIC, we want to promote what we do and communicate our message. It truly is, how can we make the industry better? How can we be long-term partners, grow together, prosper together, and raise standards for the whole industry? I mean, look at what we've talked about today. 99% of it has been about how do we help the industry and our clients and our clinics to be safe and do better and choose the right options for them. So I just want to say thank you so much for being foundation members of ABIC and supporting the industry. All of our members, thank you, Ray and Global Beauty Group and Kane and the rest of the team. And I thank you so much for coming and sharing the knowledge that you have today.
No, thank you. Thank you, Stephanie. It was a lovely chat. I enjoyed it. So thanks very much.
It's super fun. It's always fun talking to you, Ray. Please come again.
Cheers.
You've reached the end of another episode of the Beauté by ABIC podcast, your online support community for the aesthetic and beauty industry. Thank you for listening, and until next time, stay connected.